In the small town of Silverwood, a mysterious air hung heavy over the graveyard during the night shift. The old cemetery, cradled amidst ancient trees, seemed to come alive in the moonlit hours. Thomas, the graveyard keeper, was a solitary figure, his steps echoing softly in the stillness of the night. Armed with a single flashlight, he ventured among the tombstones, his eyes scanning for any signs of disturbance. The moon cast eerie shadows that danced on the graves like specters, and the rustling of leaves seemed to whisper secrets of forgotten souls. The ancient stones bore witness to the passage of time, marking the final resting places of generations. Yet, as Thomas carried out his usual rounds, an unsettling presence made itself known. A chilling breeze cut through the air, causing him to shiver despite the warm night. In the distance, among the tombstones, Thomas caught a glimpse of a woman draped in a flowing white gown. Her face concealed beneath a veil of darkness, her ethereal figure glided soundlessly, her feet barely touching the ground. He followed the figure, his heart pounding, drawn deeper into the graveyard's heart. The night grew darker, and the air became heavy with an ominous aura. The woman finally stopped, her gaze meeting Thomas's. Her eyes, or what was left of them, were hollow sockets that seemed to pierce his soul. She spoke with a voice that echoed from beyond. "Why do you wander here, keeper of the dead?" Thomas stammered, "I tend to the graves, to ensure they rest in peace." "Peace?" the woman replied, her voice hauntingly mournful. "There is no peace for the forgotten souls. They yearn for release, for someone to remember them." Confused, Thomas protested, "I do remember them. I light candles and leave flowers in their resting places." The woman's mournful wail sent shivers down his spine. Remembering their names is not enough. They need to be spoken of, cherished, and kept alive in the hearts of the living. Only then can they find peace. A realization washed over Thomas, and he understood the weight of his responsibilities. He had merely gone through the motions, never truly honoring the memories of those who rested here. "I didn't realize. I'll do better, I promise," he pleaded. The spirit nodded in acceptance, her form flickering like a candle flame. "Remember them, keeper of the dead, and I shall trouble you no more," she declared, before vanishing into the darkness. From that night on, Thomas devoted himself to the graveyard's memories. He spoke of their names and their stories, and ensured they were cherished in the hearts of the living. The strange occurrences in the graveyard subsided, and the night shift became a time of reflection and remembrance. The ancient cemetery rested in the hands of a keeper who had learned the true value of his duty, where the line between the living and the departed blurred, and the memories of the dead lived on through the ages. In the heart of a bustling city, nestled between towering skyscrapers, stood an old, eerie building that had seen better days. It was an abandoned hospital, its corridors now silent and shrouded in darkness. Once bustling with life, it now held only memories and secrets that whispered through the empty halls. Amelia, a newly hired nurse, found herself assigned to the night shift at this desolate hospital. Her excitement at landing her first job soon turned to unease as she learned of the building's haunted reputation. Dismissing the tales as mere superstitions, Amelia convinced herself that it was just a way to spook newcomers. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Amelia began her night shift, feeling the weight of the darkness closing in around her. The flickering fluorescent lights cast eerie shadows on the walls, and the faint sound of dripping water echoed through the halls. Amelia's first task was to check on the patients in the intensive care unit, the only wing still in use. As she entered the ward, an unsettling chill ran down her spine, making her regret her decision to take the night shift. The soft beeping of the heart monitors seemed to blend with the rhythmic creaking of the building. Each step she took seemed to echo louder, as if someone else were following her. Shaking off her growing unease, Amelia focused on her duties, tending to the patients with care. However, as the night wore on, the hospital seemed to come alive with inexplicable sounds. Footsteps echoed from empty corridors, doors creaked open and shut on their own, and faint whispers seemed to dance on the edge of her hearing. Amelia tried to convince herself it was just her imagination, but the feeling of being watched wouldn't fade. With every passing hour, her anxiety intensified, and she couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding. It was during a moment of respite in the break room when Amelia noticed something odd on the old hospital security monitors. In the corner of one of the screens, a shadowy figure appeared to move silently through the deserted hallways. Panic surged through her veins, and she rushed to investigate. However, as she reached the hallway, the figure was nowhere to be found. Amelia's heart pounded in her chest as she questioned her sanity. She knew she had seen something on the monitors, but the corridors were empty once more. Unable to shake off the feeling of being watched, Amelia sought refuge in the hospital's old chapel, hoping the quiet sanctuary would bring some solace. As she entered, the air seemed to grow heavy, and a sense of dread filled the sacred space. In the dim candlelight, Amelia glimpsed a faint figure in the distance, standing before the altar. Her breath caught in her throat as she recognized the silhouette of a nun, draped in an old habit. Amelia whispers, "Sister, is that you?" The figure turned towards her, but instead of a face, all she saw was a dark void. Amelia's pulse quickened and she stumbled backward in terror. The figure vanished before her eyes, leaving her trembling in the dimly lit chapel. With the night shift nearing its end, Amelia decided it was time to leave. The unsettling events had shattered her disbelief in the hospital's haunting tales. As she made her way to the exit, she noticed a series of faded photographs displayed on a wall. The photographs depicted the hospital in its prime, bustling with doctors, nurses, and patients. But one image stood out: a group of nuns clad in habits, their faces obscured in the same way as the figure she had seen. A sense of dread washed over her as she realized the connection. The abandoned hospital had once been run by nuns, and the figure she had seen might be one of the long-forgotten sisters still lingering within the building. As Amelia stepped outside into the crisp morning air, she knew that the horror she had experienced during the night shift was not a mere superstition. The hospital held more than just memories. It was haunted by the shadows of its past, and some secrets refused to remain buried.